Good day. You're watching the interview on Mongolian National Broadcaster. Today's guest is UNICEF Representative of Mongolia, Evariste Kouassi-Komlan. On the occasion of World Water Day, we will talk about water consumption and related issues. This year, the theme of World Water Day is groundwater, making the invisible visible. Does this mean that groundwater has become a serious emerging issue worldwide?
Yeah, no, thank you very much and having me on the plateau today. I think every year since 1993, the world celebrates the World Water Day, basically to make sure that many people in the world are aware of the challenge of the importance of water, and then at the same time also taking good care of water in terms of consumption, use in industry, agriculture, and many other use as well. So it's why the 22nd of March is a good day where we need also to advocate for a proper use of water, because it's very important to make sure that water that we are using are not polluted, clean for consumption, and also due to the new challenge that we are facing as a climate change, we need to ensure that the whole proper use, the recycle of water can be proper addressed, so that we can have a better conservation of water. So this year, today, celebration is more focused on how we can make groundwater, which is totally invisible, visible, because groundwater is very, well, particularly in a very arid country, where the only source of getting water is groundwater, basically. It's why today is a very important day to build this kind of awareness on how we can take good care of groundwater.
It means the importance and value of groundwater are increasing, right? Are there any studies from international organizations on groundwater status? For example, what percentage of water resources does groundwater make up?
So yeah, no, globally, the main source of use is groundwater. Has been used in many contexts, which is very important, because extracting groundwater is very easy, and then the treatment is quite easy, so that we cannot put a lot of chemical and then use it very straight for consumption, which is basically in most of the case people prefer using groundwater, which is very straightforward. And now, due to the climate change, the challenge that we are having is the raw recharge of groundwater is decreasing 7% in some of the contexts, the decreasing of the recharge. So it's why we need to pay a lot of attention to that. In addition to that, there's a huge pollution that happens in most of the country to those groundwater, that basically increase the cost of treatment of those groundwater, which is one of the challenges that the world is facing nowadays. So it's very important to build awareness for the protection of those of the groundwater, so that the cost of abstraction and treatment can be reduced, and also for the population are using those services, we can have less price related to groundwater consumption.
We've been told that groundwater consumption in Mongolia is growing at a dangerous rate. Based on reports from international organizations and researchers, what is the current status of groundwater resources in Mongolia?
No, so it's a very good question. Overall, the consumption of water is quite challenging in the context where we have also a lot of arid zone, and Mongolia is one of the countries following this situation. And groundwater account for 1.9% of the whole consumption, the availability of fresh water in the country. In the same time, it's the well-used source of water for many purposes in the country. So this is where in Mongolia we need to have more protection, more support, more intervention to make sure that the groundwater that is available, we continue to have a good recharge, we continue to ensure that it's less polluted, so that we can benefit totally for the use of those groundwater in the country. So it's very important, although we have a very little availability, it's the main source of consumption in use in the country, a lot of protection measures need to be in place basically so that we can ensure that the cost of abstraction and also the use is not too much elevated for the population.
In general, has Mongolia been able to fully reflect its specific objectives in policy documents on issues related to the protection and use of groundwater? Are legal regulations lacking, or do you think there is adequate legal environment?
No, thanks very much for this question. I think it's every legal framework is in place in Mongolia, basically to make sure that groundwater use and is well is well defined in every condition, including the use in agriculture, in use in industry. One of the challenge that I would say is more how we systematize the quality control, the quality of water in many different aspects, including the use in urban area, in the city, in the SUM. So the quality of water is something that we need together to work on, together with the Water Resource Commission, which is very important. And we have done a sort of assessment over the past months to check in 9 provinces what are the quality of the water in those provinces and what are the measures that we need to take in place to help the government basically to improve the quality of water in those provinces. Linked to that, one thing that might be very important as a UN organization that I will add is like, since the Sustainable Development Goal has been announced, there's a new way of what they call qualifying or quantifying the fact that we have safe access to water supply services, which is mean that we need to also to have a good quality of water. So those are some of the areas that I do think that we need to work together to improve the quality of water supply for the consumption. Because if the water inequality is not it's not there, it's not appropriate, not fulfilling the standard of WHO, many diseases can basically link to that. Is where we might be having some of the challenge in addressing disease instead of addressing the quality of water in the beginning.
According to studies conducted by UNICEF and other organizations, have any conclusions been made on critical level of water quality? Which regions or provinces should pay more attention to their water issues?
No, so I think I've always, before I came here, I've always called the quality of water supply, the poor father of the water system, right? Because usually many countries don't pay a lot of attention to the quality because, for the past we have been more focused on more providing water instead of making sure that the water that we are providing had a good quality. So thankfully for the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal now, they have set up the bar very high, meaning that if your quality of water is not very good, you cannot basically assess, you cannot be counted like providing safe water supply to the population. So the study that we have done in Mongolia was very revealing, showing some of the situation where we still have some of the quality of water issue. Although the quantity is very good, we didn't have to have a quality, improve the quality. And I have been touring and visiting some of the MAC over the past date, and I can see some of the issue related to the quality of water in different provinces. When the governors say, okay, our main priority is how to improve the quality of water in the MAC. So how it's not coming from any pollution side that like we are seeing, but it's more how the groundwater is coming with some of the more mineral basically in those water, which is some of the issue that we collectively need to do. I think the situation in Mongolia is not totally different in other countries, but one thing that we need to do is how we improve the quality of water at the source before the distribution. In some of the schools already in the country, thankfully the government and then the Ministry of Education and many partners have already provided some solution putting some filtration system in the schools, in a province facility, so that those water quality can be improved. So which is very commendable. But I think we need to build an awareness of the users that the quality of water is not given. There's a work to be done basically to improve those quality wherever we go, whatever supplies we are providing to the population.
How long will studies on groundwater take place? What tangible outcomes can be expected from the studies?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very good question. And based on the 9 studies that we have done in the 9 provinces, one of the key milestones, what we are looking for is to build a sort of platform where all those provinces will have all those data by water source available, which is the first step. So each partner, the Water Resource Commission is working hard on that. We have been supporting them. This platform will give you more information on each of the provinces and earmark water supply system, so that we can basically have available data. And when you want to support them, you can go to those websites. We want also UNICEF, through UNICEF support, to move from the 9 province data now to all the 21 provinces, where we have all those data in one database. So this will be the first step, aggregate all those data based on the study that we have done. The second step is how we work with the governors in many provinces to define the strategy to improve the water quality. In some of those provinces or some of those MR, it's not a lot of intervention need to be done. It's just fixing, the filtration system in the beginning, and then, you have a very good water quality. In some of those provinces, there's more work to be done in those to improve the water quality. So we'll be working together with them to address those issues, which is the second point of the intervention. And then the third point that we want to make sure that we work through government, which is more the capacity at the provincial level need to be available, so that they will continue monitoring the situation and do intervention where it is needed. I think those are very important. And then the last one is more the knowledge part. What we have learned in one province, one MR need to be also used in other provinces as well, in terms of the hardware, in terms of the construction, in terms of technology, also in terms of awareness building, communication that we have done through this province can be used in other provinces as well. So those 4 main interventions are very important, and we'll be working closely with Water Resource Commission basically to make sure that we work on all those lines in the coming years as well in the country.
Will any activities be implemented to enhance public knowledge on groundwater consumption and protection? What kind of activities can be conducted?
No, I think this has to start with linking groundwater in climate change aspect. I think it's very important, linking climate change and groundwater, because also, as I say before, the groundwater is decreasing because of the abstraction, and then we don't have a lot of groundwater, so we don't have a lot of recharge. I think linking that is very important. Build awareness is not only a climate change issue, but also groundwater is affected. I think the second point to me is how we can use what we call circular economy, how we can, the water that we are using now, how we can recycle them and put it back into the ground. It might be something that we might work on in Mongolia, because it's very important. Some of the countries are doing that, Singapore or California. Listen, few of them, they have a good technology of how to do that, and how we can learn in terms of recycling water, reusing them in many aspects, including agriculture and industry. Might be something that we need to work together. And then the tech component for that is to have more advocacy, a big advocacy and campaign to inform the industry, the people who are using the water, many stakeholders, agriculture sector, that not only we need to rationalize the use, not using the same quantity that we are using now. If we are using that, it will be totally depleting the groundwater in the coming years. So the preservation of the consumption is something very important we need to take into account. The general public need to be aware, and then you, from the television broadcast, you need to play a huge role in that, and also through many other media like Facebook, Twitter, build those kind of awareness, build a new way of communication around the groundwater might be very important, because if you finish what you have in the ground now, the next generation will have a big challenge, because those groundwater, which are very precious, will not be available anymore. No, yeah, thank you very much for having me today. I think very important as we are developing our new country program, which will start next year, 2023, 2027. There's few components that might be very important, and also taking into account how improving groundwater can basically help improving the health of the children, which is one of the key aspects that I just want to flag, because children need to live in a healthy environment as well, health and clean environment, which is one of our key area of intervention. And UNICEF is working hard with many organizations to make sure that children, whether in schools, in the household, in the community, have a very, a good environment where they live. One of the key areas related to that is water supply and sanitation, which is one of the key components of our program, and link also to groundwater, because most of water for consumption here rely on groundwater basically source. And for us, it might be important day and night that we work closely with the government, with many partners, to ensure that water that the children are consuming, are drinking, are using to take their bath. Any use of water need to be, you need to ensure that the quality is fulfilled. This has implication that we work collectively, collaboratively with many other stakeholders in the sector to build this kind of quality of water, so that children can be healthy in the community. So this is a very important call, not only for our partner with whom we are working, also for the government and for the civil society, for the water user in the country, so that this might be one of our key priority for the agenda to come. And I just want to thank you very much for having me on this plateau of television today, and I hope you will continue working together, advocating for quality of groundwater in the country in the year to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We had Evariste Kouassi-Komlan, UNICEF representative to Mongolia, in our studio for an interesting discussion on groundwater storage, use and protection. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Evariste Kouassi-Komlan оролцлоо.